Hey yo guys, how's everyone doing? This is your guy AssassinDave. Today we're going to react at the Pro Guide tier list for patch 3.1a. They actually made a tier list evaluating all the champions after the update. And then after playing a lot of the games in the European server, now we're actually closing up on Challenger. We're gonna go ahead and take a look of the tier list and see how actually accurate are those tier lists in an actual combat. So let's go.
Just for the thrill of it, nothing counterfeit with you. Just the thrill of it. Just for the thrill of it, nothing counterfeit.
Hey Summoners, welcome back to another Wild Rift video. My name is Nathaning, and today we'll be going over the champion tier list for patch 2.1a. This list covers all levels of play, so it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or you find yourself on the top of the ladder. This list will be quite accurate and tell you which champions are best if you want to secure some wins. Some champions are
Okay, I mean, first off the bat, I like the confidence coming out of, Pro Guide. How did they know that, right? Who is evaluating all this tier list? Who made the tier list? Very confident.
Inherently better when piloted by masterful players. However, the difference is fairly small, so power levels are fairly consistent across the ladder. Anyway, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Akali has made her way up the absolute top of the tier list as she
Akali's now OP in a tier list.
Completely dominating the Baron lane, and if you haven't already picked her up, you should probably do so as soon as you can. Champions like Darius and Olaf have been running the Baron lane for the past couple patches, but Akali is an excellent answer to bruiser-style champions and has an excellent laning phase against them. Darius
Now, I gotta say, Akali is actually okay against champions like Olaf. Olaf and Akali has always been 6 and 4, maybe 7 and 3, depends on the Olaf player, to the favor of Olaf. Yes, you can use your Shroud to try to dodge Olaf's skills, but a good Olaf, they will always out-trade you. Like when you try to Q them and try to auto-attack, get your passive in your range, if Olaf just stick onto you and start auto-attacking, you actually lose the trade. If you use your Shroud, you're just gonna waste your Shroud, because he doesn't have to activate ultimate to hit you. Olaf can actually just use E, and he'll out-trade Akali in lane. It's actually pretty insane how that works, but if you have ever go against good Olaf in lane, you will notice that the way how they use their skills, they actually out-trade against Akali every single time. A good Olaf, I'm just saying, does have the advantage in lane against Akali. And Akali actually loses to a lot of champions. Akali loses to Malphite. He's not that great against Gragas. I think it's another 6 and 4 scenario to the favor of Gragas. And Akali against a lot of other champions like Fiora, for example, is actually a skill matchup. In fact, Fiora does have the upper hand. I would say like a 7-3 or maybe even higher, depending on the skill level of the Fiora players. Because Fiora can just easily use the parry to parry a lot of damage from Akali, especially when you use your combos. So interestingly, I wouldn't consider Akali OP. I definitely think Akali is top tier, like S tier, if S is the highest tier, right under OP. I would say Akali is there, but I wouldn't say Akali is OP because a lot of meta champions actually straight up does have a much bigger impact than Akali in team fights and also better in lane,
And if they do use their cooldowns, Akali can just simply sit in the Shroud and wait them out or disengage.
You see, that's a true and not true. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like, Fiora's Q actually go through Akali's Shroud for some reason. I do not know how that works, but if Fiora Qs into the Shroud, she will Q you every single time. Even though she cannot see you, but she will Q, her Q will hit you every single time. Another thing, like I said about Olaf, yes, you can Shroud and try to evade some damage, but as long as Olaf saved that E, the moment you try to do Q and try to do damage, Olaf just E you, and you lose the trade. Guaranteed. And I just want to mention, regarding Akali versus Malphite, because you said Akali have a really good laning phase against all those bruisers fighters. Again, I don't deny that, but I do not completely agree. Malphite actually destroys Akali. All you have to do is build AP. Do not build tank Malphite. Build AP Malphite, and all you have to do is throw Qs at her. Do not throw Qs at minions. If you throw Q at minions, you lose the lane. All you have to do is every time you see Akali, when your Q goes off cooldown, throw it at her. When your Q goes off cooldown, throw it at her. You will win trade, guaranteed. I can guarantee you that. In fact, just wait for your shield. You don't even have to do that. You throw your Q. If Akali come to lane and try to use Q to do minions, right? You go up to her, boom, slam the ground. You can auto-attack her, you cannot auto-attack her, but as long as every single one of your Qs goes to an Akali, I guarantee you win the trade. And if you get Akali to around like 40% HP, you ult, when your ult comes up, if you're able to clear wave a little bit faster than Akali because you're able to out-trade her in lane, your ult comes up, you ult, ignite, she's dead. Guaranteed. You know, that's why Akali actually have struggles against those champs in lane. And it takes no skills, right, for Malphite. So it's kind of weird how this thing works, because Akali sometimes just lose trace against some of the easiest dumbass champions in the lane. The way to counter that is to make sure he doesn't have the phase to keep on harass you, to keep on Q you. So, I mean, when I say Q, I mean skill 1. So all you have to do is take down the first tower. If you're able to take down the first tower ahead of Malphite, you win the lane, you dominate the lane. I guarantee you, next time you see Malphite, when you see him, throw the ultimate in, commit, and then just do a full combo, Malphite's dead. Because Malphite also built full AP, you know? So the key to beat Malphite is somehow take down the first turret. Maybe not rotate the dragon tower team to kite around the dragon, to steal the dragon in a way, but take down the first turret in your Baron lane, and after that, you kind of dominate the lane against Malphite. But again, Malphite is much better in the team fights, has a much bigger impact in the team fights, and obviously can act like a front line and initiate really well, and you is more of a, you know, sideline poker, sideline executioner. And now he's talking about Darius. Darius being OP. Again, over here I have to disagree. I think Darius is really, really powerful right now, especially after the patch. They made it super tanky. In fact, Darius' lifesteal might be a little bit busted. That's absolutely true. But Darius in lane, a good Baron laner, almost everyone would destroy Darius. Even Jax, even a Jax player will destroy Darius. All you have to understand is how his Q works, right? As long as you get in the center of it, Darius Q, you'll out-trade Darius every single time. Literally every single time. Especially for those champs like Jax who have evasion, who have the little spinning thing. And then when you activate that and Darius try to auto-attack you, where you evade all of that, in fact you increase your E damage, you out-trade. Same as Fiora. Fiora, depends on what skill you parry, you can actually stun Darius and do a lot of close combat damage. Because Fiora just like in your face, you know, in your face. If she's able to evade one of those skills, really, really important skills, let's say Darius ultimate, if the Fiora is good enough, if she's able to evade, like, just maybe not give Darius a chance to get a 5-stack, so he didn't ult, maybe just like evade a pull or evade like a Q, you know, and then just commit and boom, you kill the Darius. So that's usually how it works. So I do not think Darius is OP. I do think Darius has been a lot stronger than before. I do think a good Baron laner will destroy Darius in every single trade. A Camille will win the lane. A Fiora would win the lane. A Jax would win the lane. A Kali would win the lane. A Gragas would win the lane. Yeah, I think Darius probably win against Garen. That's pretty much it, you know, in my dictionary on the side lane. I do even Olaf will straight up destroy Darius, because Olaf will go in close combat and just smash Darius' head so fast that you're not going to get a chance to get 5-stack before you die. He might be a little bit stronger in team fights in the late game because how tanky he is, but obviously if your team is able to kite around, let's say if you have let's say Orianna, you know, your marksman, if they're able to kite around, know where Darius is, and then he's not going to be that impactful, to be honest. So I definitely do not think, again, it's OP. I think it's okay. I think it's good, but definitely not OP. The biggest problem is right now it's so easy to get 5-stacks, you know, because Alistar is so popular. And then when Alistar is popular, it's actually really easy. A lot of Alistar players that don't know how to play against Darius, you do not want to use your WQ combo on Darius. In fact, when you see Darius charging towards your team, what you need to do is push him away. Unless you know your team have the damage to just one-shot him. If your team is not ready to do that, when you see Darius coming in, just push him away. Because understand, Darius player usually get Glorious Enchant and just start running towards your team to slow your team, right? If you push him away, if you waste this opportunity, his only engage, which is his running speed, you know, towards your team, he's done. He's literally done. Darius doesn't have any other engage. He has a pull, right? Which everyone can dodge. If you get frequently pulled by a Darius that right in front of your face, that means there's really something more serious you need to work on than complaining about Darius being OP. Like, literally, when you see a Darius running towards your team, if you play Alistar, please push him away. Do not use 2-1 combo on Darius. Because this is what Darius players do. They will use a tank, like a Blizz, like a Darius, like a Alistar, to get that 5-stack. And then they will start running towards your squishies. All attack, oh, dead. All attack, oh, dead. It's literally how it works. You know, the current problem I see in the challenger rank in EU server, that server I'm playing on, is too many people do not know. Like, you need to kite around Darius instead of fight him. You know, you need to kite around because this champ has one opportunity to engage. He missed that one opportunity to engage, which is Glorious Enchant. He's done. He's done. You heard it from the pro guys, actually. They just said it's a champion that rely on brute force. He need to run towards you, and he need to start just auto attack. If you don't give him an opportunity to auto attack, this champ is useless. Imagine the Darius walk around and watches. Like, he's not gonna try to run up to you when he doesn't have any movement speed and like none of that. You know, if dodges pull, if you somehow kite around him, this champ is useless. So I definitely wouldn't consider him OP. I would definitely think he's okay though. He's so pretty good because how little people know to counter this champ. Okay, so
before we continue,
this is my take on the tier list, right? Like I wouldn't say like any of this champ is OP. All of those champs can be countered if you know what you're doing. It's literally OP against new players, people who don't know how to play the game. And obviously we're gonna start making more guys in the future talk about how to counter those champs. Again, I wouldn't consider this champs OP. I would consider them good. But pro guys like have this habit of having OP tier. I think it's just a tier that's above S tier. I'll put Akali the same tier as Olaf, to be honest. Fiora, if you're really good Fiora, I put him the same tier. I wouldn't put Cannon the same tier as the rest of the team because Cannon's laning phase, if you know what you're doing, is actually pretty easily countered. Right, because he's really squishy now, and his ultimate doesn't do that much damage. It's more of a qual control tool. So you can just brute force your way to kill him, because it's so squishy. Camille, however, I'll put in S tier. I wouldn't think Camille's A tier. Camille's laning phase is really strong, and Camille, mobility, his ability to just push lane and not get caught is insane. You know, one of the champion that can jump across walls. I wouldn't think Mundo's A tier. Another thing I would change is Jax. I think Jax is actually a lot higher tier than this tier list entails. Jax after the buff. Today I played a bunch of games in Challenger Ranking U, and then I have met Jax against Darius like 3 times, and every single time Jax won. Doesn't matter how proficient that Jax was. Every single time Jax won the lane against Darius, and he split push. And also Jax's split push ability is second to none. In fact, I don't think any champion in the Baron lane can split push faster than Jax. So it literally takes him like a few seconds to take down the first tower. His ability to take down towers is so insane. His late game solo ability is insane. Like there's no one who can one-on-one a Jax in the late game. He literally one-shots you in a way. Like boom, 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 you're dead. Not really one-shot, 3-shots you. Jax is so underrated right now. He's actually much stronger than you think. Another thing about this tier is the last tier that they have with tier D on this Cinch. Cinch is actually the real situational champ, to be honest. Cinch actually beats a lot of champs in lane. That you will be surprised. You will be really surprised how Cinch destroys a lot of laners. In fact, I've seen one really good Cinch players. He cuts lane at level 1 and straight up destroys, let's say, Jax, Garen. I think he will actually destroy Olaf as well because he would just run and you can't kill him. Good Cinch players are absolutely devastating in the right matchup. So I do not think it's D tier. I think D tier is supposed to be like Tryndamere, to be honest. D tier can be Shyvana, you know, but definitely not Cinch. Cinch probably C tier or B tier. So let's take a look at the jungle that they're saying. They're saying jungle now.
Early game strength is extremely important. Most games are won in the early game, and being able to consistently influence it is quite important. Often, you don't get to reach your later game spikes, and you don't have any impact whatsoever. Champions like Lee Sin can dominate the lanes and carry the game far before Amumu can really get off the floor.
That's absolutely true. But to be honest, it's region specific. In Asia server, Amumu is absolutely dead. Nobody play Amumu. The reason why is in Asia server, people play mainly Lee Sin, Vi, and then they even a lot of people also play Evelynn. They heavily invade. You know, when you play Evelynn, Evelynn's skills just as hard as Amumu, if not harder. You know, and then obviously Evelynn can gank a level 5 really easily, where Amumu's gank is very dependent. You know, so it's very situational. Well, Evelynn's invest, you cannot see her. So she can gank whichever lane she wants. Amumu in EU server, I see the potential because nobody invade. You can just farm, right? And Amumu is a big ass scaling champ. Think about this. Amumu is literally cannon before the nerf. That's Amumu's late game damage. If Amumu lands an ultimate in the right way, it's game changing. Game changing, guaranteed. That's why Amumu got a nerf. This champ is actually busted in a lot of ways, especially in a region where nobody invades. Like in EU server, players are really good at leashing jungles, right? If you get a jungler that's gonna leash, if you get your laners that's gonna leash you, gonna give you a hard leash where you can clear lane really, really fast, clear your camps really, really fast, and get to level 5 peacefully. Amumu's not bad at all. In fact, in the 2-on-2 skirmishes, Amumu wins, I think, in every single time with a good, you know, partner. So, and he scales insanely strong late game, right? Consider Amumu going against Lee Sin. If Lee Sin's good, and if Lee Sin's good, Lee Sin want to invade Amumu. But if Amumu's team is good and he defend the invade for Amumu, and it gets you late game, Lee Sin becomes a useless champ, but Amumu becomes this monster. Like I said, a different version of Cannon. Let me put it that way. Wukong TRS is, it makes sense. Monkey can actually be really good, because Monkey, all he needs is get a peaceful early game. But if you have really good Lee Sin play, that's why Monkeys doesn't play, is not that played in Asia server in ranked, because people invade the hell out of you. If you play Wukong and I play Lee Sin, I will invade you at level 3. You're probably not gonna have a really easy time at a blue buff. The thing about Asia server is when you invade, your team is coordinating with the invade. Everybody invade with you. In EU server, if you invade, you're invading by yourself. Nobody cares. Nobody give a fuck about your invade. You do your thing, and if you die, if you get a first blood, they call you OP. If you die, they call you jungle difference. Again, I think it's region specific, but Wukong is definitely, I would agree with S tier. Wukong is actually really strong right now. And especially in EU server where people love to team fight, Wukong can be really good. Especially set it up, let's say you get a Yasuo mid lane, you can combo really well with Yasuo, right? Or you get an Aurelion Soul. Anyone who can wombo combo, follow up with a lot of damage, it's really good. Orianna, Wukong jumps in, Orianna ult on top of it. Really, really good. To be honest, Graves is actually considered one of the top tier junglers in League of Legends PC, from what I heard. When I talked to a lot of challenger players from PC, and in fact, if you watch League of Legends pro scenes, Graves is used very frequently. The thing about Graves is you need to play aggressive. This champ is actually really, really strong early game. For those who didn't understand how Graves works, you almost cannot one-on-one this champ. If you try to Lee Sin against Graves one-on-one, you're literally killing yourself. The reason why is Graves has this huge, his E, his skill 3, where he's able to dash. That thing stacks. And it can get to 8 stacks, and if you keep on auto-attacking, he will not lose that stack. Basically, every time you auto-attack a monster, jungle monster, enemy heroes, or a plant, you refresh the stack of your third skill, and the third skill gives you extra defense, extra armor, extra physical armor. And with that being said, any physical jungler, you cannot one-on-one Graves. In fact, Graves frequently 1 versus 2 against a lot of physical champions when he has a lot of stack. You will find Graves to be so tanky for some reason. On top of it, he has a dash back and forth. He's actually quite mobile. So in Asia server, when I was first casting a tournament, when people play Graves, they frequently combo it with a Braum, and they invade. Level 1 invade your jungle. They will take your 1 buff, and they will invade the other jungle. They'll make sure you do not have any farm at all. And then that's how you snowball with Graves, right? Just keep on invading, keep on playing aggressive to make sure the enemy jungle do not have a good time. This way you take objectives over your opponent jungle. So I don't know about Graves tier in EU server because people don't invade. So I think that's why this champ is bad. Not when I say bad, I mean not as good as it would be in Asia server because people don't invade here.
And excels in killing squishy targets. But without any substantial crowd control, Graves' solo carry playstyle simply doesn't carry as much impact as it did before. That's why we're placing him in the A tier for the jungle. Here's our updated champion tier list for the jungle.
Okay, let's take a look. So Malphite is definitely not a jungle. I mean, why would you consider Malphite in the jungle to begin with? But let's take a look at OP. Again, Evelynn, Lee Sin. Lee Sin definitely not in OP anymore. Lee Sin has dropped. Lee Sin is S tier at best. Probably even considered A tier to be honest. Especially in European server. It depends on the players. Depends on the team. Maybe you're playing a pre-made. Your pre-made is really, really good to be honest. If you're able to play with assassin players, let's say Katarina, and Katarina is pretty weak in lane. So if an enemy team is over push Katarina, it actually provides the opportunity for Lee Sin to gank and might be really, really good for Kat. But definitely not OP. Definitely not OP, because this champ doesn't scale. And like I said, in the region where, maybe in Asian region, right? If you're really good Lee Sin, your team invaded with you against all the other junglers, it might be really good. But Lee Sin does not scale well, right? Lee Sin actually scale off really, really fast. That's why he's considered a ticking time bomb. If you're not able to get a few kills early on, if you're not able to secure those objectives early on, why do you pick Lee Sin then? Especially in European server. If you can invade, let's say if enemy team is Shyvana, one of the most popular jungler in European server is Shyvana because this champion scales really, really well. And like I said, nobody invades, right? And he takes dragons, he takes objectives, you win the game. So it's all a competition of who scales faster, who scales better, right? Who team fight better. So I wouldn't consider Lee Sin OP at all, to be honest, in the current meta. I would say that Evelynn's really good, but is Evelynn OP? I would think so, because in Wild Rift, there's very little way to counter no vision. You know, but even like that, Evelyn still cannot carry the game alone. So even OP champ like Evelyn cannot carry, let alone a champ that cannot scale into late game, right? Imagine Lee Sin, you know, doing okay. Enemy team has like a Jinx and then the ADC that skills, or a Xayah that skills. Literally, you cannot touch them late game. You literally cannot touch them before they just one shot or three shot you. I'm not even joking, right? If you're a Lee Sin player, you probably notice this, or if you're a good marksman player, you probably notice this, right? If you don't feed, if you just skill evenly with Lee Sin, guess what happens? You know, late game, if Lee Sin get close to you, you one-shot him. You know, this engage is very, very linear, so you literally one-shot him. So I wouldn't consider Lee Sin OP at all. I will definitely move Lee Sin to S tier. Shyvana staying S tier is totally fine. Wukong in S tier is totally fine. I think they're all even now. For Evelyn though, Evelyn can be considered OP, to be honest. I think Evelyn is probably the most OP jungle in the game right now. Her late game skilling is good, and her level 5 gank is second to none. I think Vi definitely need to be in the A tier, or even, yeah, definitely to be in the A tier. Above a Mumu, to be honest. Vi's early game is really strong. Vi's level 5 gank is really strong. You will never miss Vi's ultimate. Let's take a look at a mid lane. So Aurelion is so OP, I 100% agree. Aurelion is so early game is strong, mid game is strong, late game is strong. His rotation speed is incredible. His self-protection is incredible. Gu Aurelion Soul can 1 versus 9, like literally 1 versus 9. You know, his early game rotation. One thing you gotta know about Aurelion Soul is, when you have Aurelion Soul on an enemy team, do not try to trade at level 2. Just do not try to do it. Just have a peaceful time, please. You know, because the thing about it, Aurelion Soul, is if you try to trade, and then if you try to play really aggressive early game against Aurelion Soul comp, what happens, Aurelion Soul can come to that lane and then create a gank, and they will say, and then when you get killed by Aurelion Soul, you will say mid difference. Let me tell you something. There's almost no champ that can clear wave faster than Aurelion Soul. If Aurelion Soul see a lane, he activates that E, the wave is gone. And then he rotates. And then you complain about, why is your mid lane not rotating? Why are you playing so aggressive then? That's the question you should ask. When enemy team have Aurelion Soul, you gotta be mindful of where Aurelion Soul is. You gotta be mindful of what he's doing all the time, where he's possibly going all the time. And you cannot commit to the enemy tower. You know, because you just gonna get yourself killed.
Aurelion Soul's lack of scaling has always been his biggest downside. However, it's come to be far less awful than most might think.
He said Aurelion Soul scaling is a problem. Aurelion Soul scaling is definitely not a problem. It's was one of the least of his concerns. Aurelion Soul wanna scale. This champ's late game, he literally one shot an ADC. He doesn't need a second skill. Literally ultimate, if the ADC is in range for the ultimate, you ult, ADC is dead. In fact, if it's super late game, you use your E and expand your galaxy, land your passive, ADC is dead. And his engage is extremely good in Wall Rift because the Q has no limitation on sizes. You can go from base to a dragon to a baron and get incredibly large Q, and that stuns a full screen of enemies. Okay, let's talk about Yasuo. Yasuo moved to S tier. Interesting thing about Yasuo is actually one of the strongest, if not the strongest mid lane in the game. I'm talking about laning phase. Yasuo do not lose to anyone. It depends on how you play Yasuo. A lot of Yasuo will lose to range. Let's say a Orianna player. A lot of Yasuo actually lose to even Twisted Fate or Ahri player in lane. The reason why is because Yasuo will learn Q at level 1. When you go against range players, range characters like Aurelion Soul, all you have to do is learn E at level 1. You win lane. Guaranteed. Just make sure you don't get poked, right? Before the lane show up. Keep your passive. Once the lane show up, you E onto the minion, hopefully you get close to the enemy champ, auto attack, E on the enemy champ, auto attack, and you can E back. When I say E, I mean dash back, right? E is your third skill, which is your dash. You can dash back through another minion. You will out-trade every single time. In fact, most of the time, enemy mid laner won't even proc any skills, proc any damage, probably only hitting your shield, only hitting your passive, before you take about 1/3 of his health, 1/4 of his health, just using a passive. And all you have to do is wait for your passive to come back up and do the same thing again. After level 2, you're OP. Instantly OP, because you can auto attack Q, that's insane amount of damage. If the enemy laner misposition, a lot of times you see Yasuo first blood in lane. Yasuo S tier mid, I would disagree. to be honest. I think Yasuo's A tier at best. Yasuo is really strong in lane, but his team fight impact is still very, very tiny. All assassin characters are a very player dependent. You cannot say this champ is S tier, and then you tell people to play it, and then they play the champ, they have no idea how this champ works. They play the champ like oh, just because Orianna is S tier, Yasuo is S tier, let me go ahead and play Yasuo, right? But Orianna's team fight impact is a lot bigger than Yasuo. And Yasuo needs item. He needs his skill. Yasuo most of the time is a split pusher. Like after the first few minutes, after you guys took the first tower, no matter which if the enemy team take down your tower or you take down enemy tower, Yasuo become a split pusher and just goes off, do his thing. You know, become a lane monster. That's what he does. But most people don't do that. They have Yasuo, they just stay in lane, they do his thing, and they become a useless Yasuo. We call it Yasuo syndrome, right? So I definitely would not consider Yasuo S tier. I think all assassins are player dependent, and if it's player dependent, it's not that very, very straightforward, very easy to play. I wouldn't consider S tier, A tier at best. But let's go ahead and take a look at a tier list. Okay, OP, 100% agree. Orianna, Aurelion Sol, dead on, you know, because those champions are really, really strong. S tier champions, Akali mid is actually interesting because Akali mid is okay, but not the best. You know, S tier. Sure, because there are not too many choices. I would consider mages to be like most mages right now to be like higher tier. For example, Ahri. I actually consider Ahri to be S tier, to be honest, because Ahri's a lot of people like misunderstood this champ, think this champ is not that good just because free champ. No, Ahri is actually really, really powerful laner. Poke is really, really good. Her early game damage is insane. After level 5, she can literally kill any squishy she wants. In fact, she can literally kill anyone she wants, you know, if she's able to lend her skills right, lend her charm. And Ahri is actually the only mage in this game that has any mobility. So she's probably the best mage in the game that can counter assassin mid laner. Like, and Yasuo doesn't have any problem against anyone except for Ahri. If Yasuo is not able to win wall or somehow dodge the charm, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Ahri's early game burst is insane. For those who don't know, Ahri's Q, the return Q is actually true damage. You know, so if you're able to land your Q right, land your Q properly on Ahri, it's insane. This champ. So I would move Ahri up. To be honest, I would move Yasuo down. And Katarina, again, A tier I think is totally fine. Katarina is a player dependent champ. This champ is so player dependent. Please do not play Katarina in ranked, in diamond rank for the first time. Like, please, right? I implore you. You know, practice your Katarina first against bots, in PvPs, or use your Smurf account to practice Katarina until you're really proficient, and then play on diamond and buff. Literally, a really bad Katarina is just free loss. You know, it's just free LP for the enemy team and free loss for your own team. This champ, if played by a mediocre player, become a useless champ. But if it's played by a really, really good, proficient Katarina, it's probably the most OP assassin in the game right now. I have never seen one champ that can clear out team fights so easily. It's like Jinx on steroids, literally. Literally, it's like an assassin version of Jinx. And also Corki B tier, I don't think that's true. I think Corki need to be S tier in mid lane. For those who have played Corki mid, who have seen the challenger ranks, Corki is one of the most frequently picked mid laner. This champ outranges Orianna in lane. You know, he actually, right now, his damage, out-damage Orianna, he outrange Orianna, he out-poke Orianna, you know? And then once you reach level 5, same thing. If Corki gets that package, you actually secure the first team fight, no matter what. Depending on how you place the package, obviously. Corki against Aurelion, same thing. He out-damaged him. Oh, by the way, Twisted Fate, I think need to be in the A tier and above. Twisted Fate is so strong right now after the buff. The late game skilling, probably the best in the game. I will talk about Aurelion Sol can one-shot with his ultimate, right? But that's his ultimate for Aurelion Sol. Twisted Fate only needs 2 skills. Probably even 1 skills. I've seen Aurelion Twisted Fate throw a card at an ADC and ADC dies. It was actually the most insane stuff I've ever seen. This guy's scaling is insane. His mobility insane after level 5. He can help your jungle. If your jungle going to the enemy jungle and invade, or if your Baron laner is fighting one-on-one, Twisted Fate is a game changer. So I definitely would not consider Twisted Fate B tier. I think this should be A tier or S tier, depending on the player again. But it's an easy mage, so I would say A tier. Definitely a really strong laner. Definitely a really strong scaling mage overall. Now look at ADCs. Jinx is considered OP. I don't know about Jinx being OP. I think Jinx is really good. Attack speed ADCs are really, really good in the game right now. And Jinx is the attack speed ADC. So again, people always give Jinx resets. Like, I don't know why. They're, especially bruisers, fighters. Like, one of those tanks. Oh, don't worry about me. You know, I go in and then distract Jinx and then get myself killed. You guys fight the front line. But that's not how it works. The thing is, if you give Jinx one reset, she become crazy. She goes crazy and kill the rest of your team. The thing about Jinx is you gotta kite. When I say kite, you gotta juggle aggro's. You wanna make sure no one dies really fast. You wanna make sure you kill Jinx first before Jinx kill anyone on your team. You know, so definitely Jinx is OP because all those Alistar players, all those Bruiser players that run towards Jinx, they get themselves killed, they don't poke enough, they don't give their team the opportunity to poke, and Jinx got one reset and killed the rest of the team. That's why Jinx is considered OP. I do not think Jinx is really that OP though, but this card meta do favor attack speed ADCs. Corki, C tier. I totally disagree with that. Corki, I think is S tier mid lane. I think is definitely one of the A tier and above ADC. Corki outtrades any ADC in lane. Again, like if you have an Alistar Corki lane, you're good. You know, you don't lose a trade against anyone. To be honest, the amount of damage that Corki has in lane right now is insane. And obviously his team fight impact is bigger than any other ADC. It's thanks to the level 4 package, right? He goes home, get the package, come to the dragon fight. Like, which ADC is stronger than Corki at that point? I don't think anyone is. So tier C, that's over exaggerating, to be honest. So let's take a look at the tier list. This have to be my biggest disagreement with the entire video. I would say Saya is an OP list right now. People just don't realize it yet. Saya is so strong after the buff. You know, after patch 2.1a, there are a few good ADC players in the server who realize this, are abusing Saya. If you get a good Rakan, if you get a good support overall, this champ early game poke is second to none. Like, you cannot sustain Saya's poke, and his range is insane. After like she get the throw her Qs to get those like extra enhanced auto attacks, that range is insane. The damage is insane. I don't know how many people have been punished by Saya in lane, but you will not outpoke her, literally, because her range is way too good, and then her damage is way too good. Her Q right now hurts. Dude, if you throw the Q onto you and you got hit by that, you will see your HP drop, literally. And she matched so well with all the support, like Braum, for example. If you get a passive off, Saya will instantly pop the passive for the Braum and do insane amount of damage on the poke. Saya works really well with Rakan to set up the Chen C on top of the poke, you know. So I would consider Saya OP, you know, above Jinx. This is probably my biggest disagreement. I would consider Saya the only OP champ. Jinx, Kai'Sa being tier S. And Miss Fortune I'll consider also tier S as well, to be honest, because Miss Fortune need to be paired with a really good support. And Corki I think need to be S tier as well. Corki's late game skilling is really, really good, and now his early game laning phase is really good as well. So this is probably my biggest disagreement with the entire list. I agree that Vayne and Varus should be B tier, and all the rest of the champions are A tier. Not Ashe. Definitely not Ashe. I think Ashe need to be, like, if you want to consider a C tier champ, Ashe is probably the worst ADC in the entire game right now. If you're talking about late game skilling, there's almost not a single ADC that skills worse than Ashe. You know what I mean? Like, any ADC, Vayne, Saya, Jinx, Kai'Sa, anything else skills him. Draven straight up destroys him. Israel straight up destroys her, right? All those ADCs you see can destroy Ashe with the same item late game. And her early game damage is horseshit. It's so bad. If you have Ashe in your team, it's literally considered auto loss, to be honest. Auto loss. I think the champion is considered like a support more than the ADC. So this is probably my biggest disagreement. I think Ashe need to be put in a much lower tier than tier A, and Corki need to be moved way up. Let's take a look at support. Lulu's considered as A tier right now. I agree. Lulu's definitely not S tier anymore. In fact, some Lulu player, if you pick Lulu, it's considered auto loss because Lulu. A lot of people used Lulu last season before the patch 2.18 to boost their rank all the way up to challenger. You know, you win a game, you win 20 LP, you lose a game, you lose 10 LP. I don't know why, but that's how it is. And a lot of people abuse themselves to challenger and think themselves as put themselves on this pedestal. Oh, I'm challenger, you guys all suck. But little did this person know, they just abused a really OP champ that's just not balanced for so long. So now after Lulu being balanced, it's actually not that great of a champ. It's okay. Definitely still playable. It's definitely viable, especially against a lot of other champs. I definitely think Lulu's better than Jenna. And Jenna S tier? No. Jenna is a player-based champ. Let me put it this way. Jenna is really, really annoying to go against because the thing about Jenna is she doesn't engage. Against a good team, she's going to have problems. So, for example, if you go against an Alistar, a lot of people would say Jenna is counter to Alistar. I don't think so. Because it depends on the team. If Alistar goes in by himself, the Alistar is a bad player. Usually, in a competitive setting, when you have Alistar, he only engages when his team can follow up. What is Jenna going to do on the side? Throw some tornadoes that everybody see is coming? This is not the winter storm that hit Texas. You know, Jenna's tornado is actually really easily dodged. And then, but Alistar on the other side, on the other hand, straight up engages really, really easily. It's probably one of the strongest tank in the game right now. And then you get a Jenna that is just not on the same tier. So I would consider Jenna A tier, to be honest. I think Lulu is probably S tier. Alistar is only OP if your team has comp that can work with Alistar. For example, Misfortune. For example, Jing. Those ADC works really well. For example, Draven. All those champs who can do damage while Alistar engage, good. But if you have an Israel on your team, you get Alistar, it's literally suicide. You might as well just get Jenna, to be honest, and just make sure Israel doesn't die and just scales. If you get Israel and you get Alistar engages, he's gonna die. You're gonna lose lane, because Alistar gonna engage for nothing. Israel does no damage in lane. This champ is same as Ashe. If you get an Ashe in lane, imagine that. Alistar engages, Ashe gonna be like what? Auto attack, and an enemy team is like a Rakan and Saya. Quad control both of you, insanely return damage onto your, because Rakan can then just jump your ADC and then just kill your ADC, right? Along with Saya. I mean, what you gonna do? The same as Jinx, even, right? If you engage for Jinx, Jinx can do much to follow up. You know, Jinx need to stay on the side, just poke. So I think probably Lulu still works much better with Jinx than any other champ, any other support. Or even Nami. Alistar's OP situationally. So actually support-wise, I do not think any champ is number one. Let's go to the overall tier list. You know, I would agree that Alistar really, really strong. But now if you think about it, it's really based off team and then the players. So I wouldn't consider OP. I would consider Alistar okay, like a S tier. I wouldn't think anyone is OP right now, to be honest, support. For example, Braum. Braum is actually the strongest support in the game at level 1. If you try to fight a level 1, like let's say, you know, enemy team, one team and other team had the same thought, they want to invade, and they happen to clash. Like, they happen to go to the same side. The team with Braum will surely win. His level 1 is way too strong. He literally can carry the entire team at level 1. The thing about Braum is you gotta invade. This champ doesn't work in solo ranked because people didn't invade. You know, so and then all of a sudden this champion is not that good. Because he has to play really aggressive. He has to set out those passives for his team. So, I don't know. I don't think any support is OP. I think I know their support are bad. For example, Annie. Annie's fairly bad support. Bliss, really, really bad support. Soraka, horrible support, you know. Their support that's really bad. But I do not think that, for example, Rakan and Alistar, which one is better? You cannot say. You literally cannot say, you know. Good Rakan would destroy your team. Rakan will activate ultimate, jump in, charm everybody, and knock everybody up. That's a 2-second quad control that you cannot evade. You cannot dodge, you know, and their team follow up, and Rakan can just run away. And when his skill come back ready, he comes in again, knock you up, and jumps away. Braum, same thing. If good Braum with Graves invade your jungle might die. The game might just be over, starting with the pick. You know, depends on the player. Nami can be really ferocious. You know what I mean? You get Alistar and you get a really, really shitty ADC to pair with that. It's a shitty comp. You know, it's a really shitty comp. You get Alistar, but then you get Misfortune, you get Jing, who can do damage. You get Draven, who can do damage along with it. All of a sudden, that's a really good comp, you know? So imagine Alistar was Vayne. What the hell, dude? Like, Alistar engaged, what is Vayne gonna do? Poke, and do no damage? And meanwhile, the other side is like a Jinx and Lulu. right? Alistar engages, Lulu shield that person, right? Up and then just Q, they outtrade you, right? Alistar might die, or your ADC might die. Like it's just not, I don't know. It's situational. It's more team dependent. And I wouldn't consider any champ better than the other one in the support category. It's player based. It's just there are a few support that's really bad. Guys, what do you guys think about this overall tier list? You know, do you agree with my assessment to the Pro Guide tier list? Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know. And make sure to like, subscribe, and turn the bell on to all notification bells. With that, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.
Just for the thrill of it, nothing counterfeit with you. Just the thrill of it.